Welcome to this training on confined space. Authorized entrant. The authorized entrant must know all the hazards that may be faced during the entry. They must be informed on the mode, signs, or symptoms and consequences of the exposure of the hazards. They must properly use equipment as required. They must communicate with the attendant as necessary to enable the attendant to monitor entrance status and enable the attendant to alert entrants of the need to evacuate the space if and as needed. The authorized entrant must also alert the attendant whenever entrant recognizes any warning sign or symptom of exposures to a dangerous situation, or entrant detects a prohibited condition. The authorized entrant must exit the permit space as quickly as possible whenever an order to evacuate is given by the attendant or the entry supervisor. The entrant recognizes any warning sign or symptom of exposure to a dangerous situation. The entrant detects a prohibited condition or an evacuation alarm is activated. The attendant. The attendant must know the hazards that may be faced during entry, including information on the mode, signs, or symptoms and consequences of the exposure. The attendant must be aware of possible behavioral effects of hazard exposures in authorized entrants. They must continuously maintain an accurate count of authorized entrants in the permit space and ensure that the means to identify authorized entrants accurately identifies who is in the permit space. The attendant must remain outside the permit space during entry operations until relieved by another attendant. The attendant must communicate with the authorized entrants as necessary to monitor entrance status and to alert entrants of the need to evacuate the space. The attendant must monitor activities inside and outside the space to determine if it is safe for the entrants to remain in the space. The attendant must order entrants to evacuate the permit space immediately under any of the following conditions. If the attendant detects a prohibited condition, if the attendant detects the behavioral effects of hazardous exposure in the unauthorized entrant, if the attendant detects a situation outside the space that could endanger the authorized entrants, if the attendant cannot effectively and safely perform all the duties required. An attendant must initiate on-site rescue procedures and, if necessary, summon additional rescue and other emergency services as soon as the attendant determines that authorized entrants may need assistance to escape from the permit space hazards. The attendant must take the following actions when an unauthorized person approach or enter a permit space while entry is underway. Warn unauthorized persons that they must stay away from the permit space. Advise the unauthorized persons that they must exit immediately if they have entered the permit space. Inform the authorized entrants and the entry supervisor if unauthorized persons have entered the permit space. The attendant must perform non-entry rescues or other rescue services as part of the employer's on-site rescue procedure. The attendant also must perform no duties that might interfere with the attendant's primary duty to monitor and protect the authorized entrants. Entry supervisor. The entry supervisor must know the hazards that may be faced during entry, including information on the mode, signs, or symptoms and consequences of the exposure. The entry supervisor verifies by checking that the appropriate entries have been made on the permit, that all tasks specified by the permit have been conducted, and that all procedures and equipment specified by the permit are in place before endorsing the permit and allowing entry to begin. The entry supervisor terminates the entry and cancels the permit as required. They also verify that rescue services are available and that the means for summoning additional services are operable. They remove unauthorized individuals who enter or who attempt to enter the permit space during entry operations. The entry supervisor determines whenever responsibility for a permit space entry operations is transferred and at intervals dictated by the hazard and operations performed within the space, that entry operations remain consistent with the terms of the entry permit, and that acceptable entry conditions are maintained. That's it for confined space training.